there, I'm Cynthia and welcome to the Dinner Fix, where I help answer the question, what's for dinner? Today I'm making one of my all-time favorite dishes, chicken shawarma. Well, I love shawarma in all its forms, but today we're making chicken shawarma. Now, if you're not familiar with shawarma, it is a dish of kind of Middle Eastern, I don't know if descent, origin is the word I'm looking for. It's a food of Middle Eastern origin that is made by taking thin cuts of some sort of protein, be it chicken, beef, lamb is also very popular. It's seasoned and then stacked on a vertical rotisserie, slow spun, and the meat kind of cooks on that spit. And to serve it, it's usually kind of shaved off the spit onto some sort of flatbread, wrapped up, and then it's ready to go. It is one of the most popular street foods in the world, and it is absolutely delicious. Now, I don't have a vertical rotisserie, unfortunately. However, that doesn't mean that I can't make shawarma at home, nor that you can't make shawarma at home. I actually recently came across a recipe developed by the New York Times for an oven roasted chicken shawarma, which I absolutely loved. Really, really yummy recipe. And what I'm making today is actually a scaled down version of that recipe. So let me stop talking and show you how to make it. So first thing you're gonna need are some chicken thighs. So I have those here. And these have had the skin and the bones removed. You can buy them that way at the grocery store, have the butcher prep them for you. If you do have kind of the bone-in skin-on chicken thighs, I did create a short video that I'll kind of link to this that shows you how to remove the bone from chicken thighs. It's actually not that difficult, so don't fret if you can't find boneless, skinless at the store. So what we're going to do with this chicken in a second is add it to a blend of seasonings or marinade. So what we're going to need for this are quite a few spices. You'll have to forgive me, my camera that's usually up here is not charged, so you're just gonna have to look at the side of my face for the bulk, if not all of this video. So here I have an assortment of spices. We've got pepper, paprika, cumin, cinnamon, turmeric, red pepper flakes, and salt. And this is all gonna go into a large bowl. We're gonna add some garlic, and this is just minced garlic. This is going to be so good. It's so flavorful. Don't be afraid, of some of these spices if you've never cooked like with turmeric or never cooked savory food with cinnamon. Don't be scared. It's going to be really, really tasty. Then to this, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of olive oil. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. All right, that looks pretty good. And then we're going to add the juice of a lemon. Oh, it smells so good. Lemons just smell so fresh and yummy. All right, that looks good. We're just gonna give this a stir. Take our chicken thighs, I'm gonna throw them in our marinade, and then these are gonna marinate for at least an hour in the fridge, up to 12 hours. So you can, do this maybe the morning of, and then just let them sit in the fridge until you're ready to cook. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Pretty simple, right? Well, of course we gotta cook them, but more on that later. So I'm just gonna cover this with plastic wrap, stick it in the fridge, and then we're gonna move on to a salad that I'm gonna be serving as a side for this. All right, let's move on to our salad. Now this salad I'm gonna call a Mediterranean salad. It is probably closest in origin to like a Greek salad, but there are some other elements that we're adding to this. So we're gonna go with Mediterranean. And this tastes really good with the shawarma. You know, if you wanted to make something else, certainly you could. But this is a really yummy accompaniment that tastes good even after a couple of days sitting in the fridge. So you could even have any leftovers for lunch the next day. It's gonna taste really, really good. So we're gonna need, well, a couple of things, but I'll start by talking about the vegetables. We're gonna need some scallions for this. Also a small cucumber that I've washed, it's still dripping. Then some tomatoes. These are just some vine ripened tomatoes like pulled from our garden. You could use a plum tomato, that's fine. And then we're also going to use some parsley for this, and then it's kind of stuck down, sandwiched down there, some mint, which smells amazing. And then there's going to be more coming, but for now let's start with that. So first thing you're going to want to do is slice up your scallions. Just cut off the tops, or I guess the bottoms, yeah, the bottoms, the roots, and then we're just going to give these a nice thin slice. So this is just going to go into a bowl. We're going to proceed with our, let's do the tomatoes next. So for the tomato, we just want to core these and then remove the seeds and then just dice them up. All right, that's all of our tomatoes. So moving right along, let's get to work on that cucumber. So you're gonna wanna peel this, seed it, and then dice it into about 1/2-inch pieces. Yum, yum, yum. Smells good. All right. So what I like to do is just kind of cut this half, because I find it's just easier to work with pieces that aren't as long, and then slice it, I guess, crosswise like that. I'm going to take a spoon and then just going to scoop the seeds out just like that. And I'm just going to repeat this with the other, I guess, 3 halves. Just going to slice these kind of lengthwise, probably into thirds, to get a 1/2-inch dice, and then just crosswise. And into the bowl. All right, next, got a can of garbanzo beans. These have been drained. At least I think I did a pretty decent job of draining these. We're just gonna add those in. Yeah, those look good. And then we're gonna add our herbs. So for this, I need 2.5 tablespoons each of parsley and mint. So we're just going to give this a fine mince. Let me make some room on my cutting board. I'll admit there are quite a few ingredients that go into the making of the salad, but don't let that deter you. As you can see, the technique is really quite simple. If you can chop vegetables, you can make this salad. And we've already done about half of the work. So just going to give this parsley a mince. Maybe I should move this so you can actually see what I'm doing. There's a thought, right? All right, that looks pretty good. Into the bowl. This is a great salad to make during the summer when cucumbers and tomatoes are like at their peak of freshness. Though you can certainly make it any other time of year, it's just gonna taste best during those warmer months. Mint. You know, growing up, didn't really eat much mint, but at least not in like savory food, but my mom always grew it in our backyard. Because she would brew it to make tea for us whenever and by us I mean my siblings, probably provide more context. She would brew it for us when we had tummy aches, and we would drink mint tea, and that would help us feel better. So to this day, whenever I smell mint, I think of my mama. And this mint is going to lend just a really bright flavor to the salad. Well, actually, the herbs are in general, right? The parsley, and then we're going to add some lemon juice to this as well. So it's just a very bright, refreshing, flavorful salad to have. Let's see. So in that goes. Now, the other thing we're going to need for this is some garlic, which I don't have here, so bear with me. All right, point that up later. All right, so for this, I need half a tablespoon of minced garlic, which should be, I don't know, maybe 3 cloves. Of course, that's gonna vary depending upon the size of the cloves, but let's start, see, like this one's tiny. It's a tiny little piece, but then these other ones are ginormous. So let's start with those 3 and see what we got. That's got to be one of the most satisfying acts that I can perform in the kitchen, whacking garlic. All right. Of course, if you have a garlic press, you can use that. All right. That looks to be about half a tablespoon. It's one of the things I like about cooking as opposed to baking, though I do love to bake. Cooking allows, well then I guess it also depends on what you're cooking, but generally speaking, cooking allows, it's more forgiving, right? Or as opposed to baking, like you gotta get that very precise, otherwise you run the risk of ruining your pie or your cake or your cookies or whatever it may be that you're making. But you know, cooking is a little more forgiving. Okay, so I need that juicer again. All right, and I'm gonna need some lemon juice. I'm just going to squeeze this, as you can see, into a small bowl. We're going to make a vinaigrette that we're going to pour over our salad. And I actually might need, there wasn't a whole lot of juice in this one, so I might need 2 lemons for this. Oh, this half had more juice in it. All right, I need a 1/4 cup for this, and this looks pretty close to a 1/4 cup. All right. And then to this, we're going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt, some fresh cracked black pepper, and then we're going to whisk in a 1/4 cup of olive oil. Now I'm going to use a fork for this just because this is a really small bowl. I feel like if I try to do this with a whisk, it'd be a little hard to maneuver in here. So just really gradually gonna whisk that in. And we're trying to create an emulsion. All right, that looks pretty good. And you'll know you've done this right because instead of looking, let's see if you can see this, maybe if I move this down. Does that help? Well, hopefully you can tell, but rather than looking like right, separate oil and lemon juice, it looks like one kind of cohesive marinade, and it almost actually looks like it's thickened, kind of like when you make, if you've ever made mayonnaise or any other kind of emulsion, right? It looks like a cohesive sauce. So we're just going to add that to our vegetables. Yum, yum, yum. And we're gonna give these a stir. And there's one more ingredient we're gonna add to this, but I wanna stir this first because the last ingredient is feta, which is a type of cheese, if you're not familiar with feta. And it has a tendency to crumble. So I want to kind of incorporate everything else first so that there isn't all that much stirring left to do once I add the feta. Really, I just have to fold the feta in. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have the feta fall apart, and that's not what I want. So let me grab that from the fridge. All right, now in my haste to assemble that salad, I nearly forgot that we also need a third herb, and that is basil. And it's a shame that I almost forgot the basil because of these three herbs, it is probably my favorite. So just going to julienne some basil. Into the bowl it goes. Let's give this another stir. And I wish you could smell this because it smells like, I don't know, summers in the Mediterranean, if I knew what that was like. But no, it does remind me of some travels. But at any rate, that looks pretty good. Let me show you what that looks like. Isn't that pretty? All right, so now we're gonna add that feta that I was talking about earlier. And this is just, I bought like a big chunk of feta. I know they sell it like crumbled. I like chunk for this, and I just made a mess. So they pack this in liquid, and then yeah, I just got a bunch of that liquid all over my cutting board, but no harm done. And we need 4 ounces for this, which is half of this package. This other half I will save for another use. Just on an aside, if you ever find yourself with just some feta on hand and you're not sure what to do with it, if you happen to be making Mexican food, it actually makes a decent substitute for cotija cheese, and vice versa, simply because it is kind of a very salty cheese, though feta isn't quite as dry as cotija is, but like I said, in a pinch, you can kind of use it for the same purpose. So I'm just cubing our feta, and actually maybe these cubes are a little too big. This is about, I don't know, a little bigger than ½ an inch, so I'm gonna kind of cut those in half. I mean, other things you can do with leftover feta, you can blend it up with some sun-dried tomatoes and like a food processor, and it makes a really yummy like spread on some bread or some crackers. So you could of course just eat it by itself. I've also used it as like a filling for like stuffed chicken breasts with feta. So it's all sorts of things you can do with it. Now we're just gonna fold this in gently. And if you ever wanted to make this salad just by itself, it makes a great side to really anything that's grilled, but also even just like a lunch, right? You can just pile this on a plate, serve it with some pita or some other kind of flatbread, and it makes for a light and flavorful lunch. But this is done. So let's see if you can kind of see it. I'm just gonna cover this with, actually not plastic wrap, this thing comes with a lid. I'm just gonna stick a lid on this, and I'm gonna set it aside on the counter, simply because I'm gonna be eating this in the next few minutes or so as soon as we cook our chicken. But you could make this in advance by a couple of hours and then just bring it out, let it come to room temp before eating, because that's when it tastes best. But let's cook that chicken. All right, so our chicken's been marinating for about an hour now. So we're gonna go ahead and cook our chicken now. I've preheated an oven to 425 degrees, and then I've got a rimmed baking sheet here, to which I'm gonna add ½ a tablespoon of olive oil. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball that. That looks pretty good. And I'm gonna take a pastry brush and just kind of brush that all over. Good. And I've got here, I guess, a medium-sized onion. Really, you need a small onion for this. but I find that I don't know, small red onions, or just small onions in general, are really hard to find these days. They're always like ginormous. But I've cut the poles off, as you can see, and then I'm just removing the peel, and we're just gonna quarter this. And this is just gonna roast with our chicken, so it's gonna make for another yummy vegetable to serve alongside. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just slice this in half, slice the half in half. All right, so I've just quartered our onion, and I'm just gonna throw kind of the pieces. Just gonna fan that out, and you don't have to get like every single layer, but just, you know, kind of, that looks pretty good. And then we're gonna take our chicken and we're going to add it to the baking sheet with our onions. And that smells really good. I'm super, super excited to eat this. And we're also gonna pour the marinade over this. Not letting any of this goodness go to waste. All right, and I'm just gonna kind of toss the onions with some of this marinade. All right, just kind of spread that out on the sheet. And this is gonna roast in the oven until the chicken is cooked through. We're gonna be looking for an internal temperature of 160 degrees. That is going to take 30 to 40 minutes, but I'll check it after the half hour just to see how it's getting along. So into the oven, and then I'll show you what this is looking like half an hour from now. All right, so it has been half an hour, and our chicken just came out of the oven. As you can hopefully see, it's kind of made a mess of my baking sheet, but it looks really, really yummy. The onion has got some nice caramelization on it. The chicken is starting to crisp up in bits, or in parts rather. So what I'm gonna do at this point is I'm going to check our chicken to make sure it's done, and I'm going to insert, this is just a thermometer, in the thickest part of the thigh, and the temperature we're looking for is 160 degrees. So I wanna make sure I get that right in the center. And it looks like we're good. So that one's done, and then this one's a little smaller. So this one, it stands to reason, should also be cooked through, but just to play it safe, we will check it as well. Yep, and we're good. So we're going to transfer this to a cutting board, and we're gonna allow this to rest. Oh, look at how tender that was. You just see that? It just fell right apart. It's tender, it's juicy, it's gonna be delicious. So we're just transferring this to a cutting board, and we're gonna allow this to rest. I'm just tenting it loosely with some aluminum foil. Gonna let that rest for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna dice it up. We're gonna plate, taste, and yeah, I'm excited. All right, so it's been 2 minutes. Our chicken has been resting. So what we're gonna do at this point is we're just gonna chop this up just into, I don't know, pretty coarsely chopped, across the grain. Oh man, this is so juicy. And my only regret is that you cannot smell this, but you'll just have to settle for making it yourself. All right, so I'm just gonna scatter this with some parsley, a nice little garnish, and then to plate. Where's my salad? Right, yeah, can't forget the greens. All right, so let me try and show you what this looks like so you can see. Oh, actually it might be easier if I just take this. All right, let's see if I can show you. How good does that look? So to plate, I've got some hummus, and this is completely optional. And I've just got 2 types of hummus, and that's just store-bought hummus that I always keep on hand. We're gonna take our chicken, just pile that on. I guess I'll leave some for my husband, because I'm a good wife. And actually it's garnished with a little more parsley. So it looks pretty. And then we're gonna take our salad that we made earlier, and if you recall, there's chickpeas, tomatoes, feta, cucumber, basil, mint, parsley, all kinds of yummy goodness, scallions. Can't forget the scallions, some lemon juice, all kinds of yummy goodness went into the making of this salad. And my mouth is watering at the prospect of eating this right now. I am very, very hungry and very much looking forward to eating this. All right, and then the other kind of optional, I have some pita here that I'd warmed up. I'm just gonna kind of quarter this. And you know, you don't have to do this, but I like me some pita. Just kind of pile that on. Let's make that look pretty. All right, so we've got the chicken, the salad, pita, hummus, the onions. Cannot forget the onions. So these got some really nice caramelization going on them. And I bet they're gonna be delicious. So we're just gonna wedge a couple of onion pieces on our plate. All right, and there you have it. Chicken shawarma, the Mediterranean salad, some pita and hummus. Let's taste. Got a fork here. I'm gonna try the salad first. Looks like I get. First thing I taste is the lemon juice and the garlic, and then you get the saltiness from the feta and the herbs, the parsley, the mint. Flavor explosion in my mouth. Let's try a little bit of this chicken with a little piece of this onion. If I can skewer it onto my fork. All right, here we go. Absolutely delicious. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing your comments and feedback in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Enjoy.